Day 2 of the public forum on whether or not Ghana needs a new voters register ended a while ago, with the Electoral Commission demonstrating how impossible it is for an unauthorized person to get access to its systems. Chairperson of the Commission, Barima Osei, who took time to respond to issues raised by the opposition New Patriotic Party, put on record during her presentation that there is no perfect system and it's particularly impossible to determine who is a Ghanaian or who is a minor.
People do not have a robust national identity system independent of the EC. And clearly, the problems we have with the existing register are because we cannot say definitively who is a Ghanaian or who is a minor.
But as expected, the NPP says she did not address all the issues raised by the party. So has the forum lived up to expectations? Was the Electoral Commission convincing in the reasons espoused for some of the anomalies in the voters' register? After the forum, what next? This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ryan. After several hours of presentation from political parties, civil society groups and political stakeholders, the two-day public forum called by the Electoral Commission came to a close. Key presentation for the day was by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Barima Osei, who took time to offer explanations to some of the issues raised by the NPP. Let's take some excerpts of her presentation.
And then key issue. We still do not have a robust national identity system independent of the EC. And clearly, the problems we have with the existing register are because we cannot say definitively who is a Ghanaian or who is a minor. So if we start this new register and we start from a fresh sheet, when people come to the registration center, it gives you three options basically for establishing your nationality and your age. You can have a passport, you can produce a driver's license, or you can produce a national identity card. If you do not have either of these three documents, how are you going to establish your identity? We cannot say that provide your existing voter ID card, because that is inherently importing the flaws in the existing register into the new register. So if we say this register is incurably flawed and we're going to start a new one, why would we say produce your existing card as a means of coming onto the new register? The other issue is we also cannot say have two people on the register come and attest to you, because we will not have a register. We are starting fresh. So this is a major challenge, and we would welcome the input of the political parties. So we've gone over this, the timelines and all that. We've also looked at the audit solutions. It's been proposed that we can do a physical exhibition like we've always done, or we can put it all on a website, so when people don't want to go for the exhibition, they can sit at home and check and confirm. We can also, international standards, audit through computer tests, where they analyze an electronic copy of the register to determine demographic trends. And we could also do an audit through field tests, where we do statistical tests to check the comprehensiveness and accuracy of the register. Yesterday, I think Dr. Akweto Baidek proposed a surgical removal. I liked that. Surgical removal of verified errors and the ineligibles that have been identified. It's also been suggested that we could use the National Identification Authority database. A few limitations may come up that they only have 17 million, we're at 7 million, we're at 14 million. The age of the data they have is also a problem, because this data was taken a while back. And then I think the NIA uses minimum 4 fingerprints, while we use minimum 6 fingerprints. So the issue of the credibility of the output, we need to look at it carefully.
So let's get into the issues and find out what makes what sense. And on the phone line is Joe Jackson. He is the political analyst who help us answer some questions. Many thanks for your time, Joe. And day 2 is now over, and you possibly may have heard the explanations of the EC chairperson. Key for me is the fact that she says there is no perfect system. What is your assessment of the forum so far?
Well, the forum has lived up to its billing as a process by which the EC will show itself to be transparent. In that sense, it has lived up to what it was supposed to do. Some of us did not expect the forum to give us any particular unique insight as to which way they will be leaning or the things that are wrong with our register. But one thing I can say for sure, even if there is no perfect system, the current register is worse than we should expect as Ghanaians. Now, this does not go to say that we should, of necessity, have a completely new register, or we should look at ways of cleaning this register. But more important to this whole process is for the EC to show us how, going forward, it will fix some of the issues that are with this register that both parties have acceded to.
And listening to the EC chair, were you convinced with their presentation today?
Unfortunately not on this issue.
What were you expecting? I mean, the key points you were expecting from the Electoral Commission that it's making you disappointed?
No, it's not so much as being disappointed, is so much as I actually don't think she has the answers. Really, to be fair to her, she's saying that I put together a panel of experts to help me develop these answers. So let's put it in perspective. It's not so much as being disappointed. But remember, right, that nothing new was offered. Tell us that there's no perfect system, it doesn't solve any problem. After all, one side of the equation is saying, remember that what's the issue at stake? MPP says the system is rotten, scrap it and start from scratch. MD says the system is also rotten, but hey, let's manage it. So to come out and then, as the ombudsman say that there's no perfect system, you haven't answered anything.
But more importantly, Joe, is the fact that the NPP is now saying that the Electoral Commission Chair did not even address all the issues raised by the party. To be fair, do you think she could have done so?
To be fair, she couldn't have done that. If she could have addressed all the issues, remember that if she could have addressed all the issues, she wouldn't need an expert panel to assist. So, but she must tell us clearly, when are they going to come out and tell us the way forward? Because we're waiting for that.
Okay, so listening to the Electoral Commission Chair, clearly she states that there is no perfect system. And so does it give you an indication, or do you foresee that she won't be opting for a new voters register as being required by the NPP and other pressure groups?
Well, from day one, some of us have suspected that the EC chair or the EC will be looking for a compromise, some method of cleaning up the system without necessarily going back to the drawing board. I think that today she revealed that bias that we have suspected. And that may not necessarily be a bad thing, but the point what we're looking for is how much will they give us towards cleaning the system and fixing the system? And that we don't have answers to yet.
Okay, I'll have you hold, Mr. Jackson. In the studio here is Malik Dabo, Joy News, on the Joy News political desk. Malik, you've been following the forum from yesterday. Tell me, what do you make of the presentation of the Electoral Commission?
Well, it's obvious for anybody who examines what she said critically that the MPP won't have what they want, because the MPP wants an entirely new register.
Not just the MPP, I mean, there
are other smaller parts, the CPP, groups. PPP, and others believe that the current register is fundamentally flawed and cannot be relied on for credible elections next year.
Right.
The NDC does not agree. Listening to the Electoral Commission chairperson, it's obvious that she does not opt, she will not, they may not opt for a new register. And it's simple. She points out that if we were to open up registration for a new register, there's no guarantee that we will, and that's argument that Johnson Asirin-Ketia of the NDC has been pushing. There's no guarantee that the problems that belied this one will not recur. And she cites, for example, the two major parties have taken entrenched positions on this matter, the MPP and the NDC, and they have taken extremely opposite positions. The MPP want a new register, the NDC says no. So if you were to go and do, listen to the NPP's argument and do a new register, you would have, in her view, 30,000 conflict zones across the country. And she says the social context must be considered when you are doing these things, because now MPP are going to insist that anybody who comes to register must prove that the person is a citizen. Remember that the MPP claims they identified over 76,000 Togolese on the register. Now, if you were to go and do registration today, the MPP would send people to the Volta region and they would demand that anybody who comes from the border there and wants to register, give us proof that you are a citizen. And there will be challenges everywhere. The MPP also points out that in the other border regions, you have extremely high numbers. Given from 2008 to 2012, the voter populations have increased in questionable manners. So when you open up for registration, the party is going to insist that in these areas, anybody who comes to register must prove that you are a citizen. The NDC will insist that you can't stop the person from registering, and we will have chaos in our hands. This is what the Electoral Commission chairperson believes will not help going forward. And of course, she cites cost as well. But
she also made mention of the fact that there is no perfect system. Does it give you, or does it make you lose hope that the very body that's supposed to understand that yes, but we cannot have a perfect system, but we should not give chance to any little mistake? But of course, I mean, she's making this point. Are you not worried?
She says, she said that, which is factual anyway, because you can't have a perfect system. That's
exactly that's so. But we shouldn't give chance to any little mistakes.
So she says that, of course, everybody wants a credible register, but she says the duty is on the Ghanaian citizenry to ensure that we have a credible register. Right. She points out the case of minors, for example, and says that if you have ordinary citizens, parents who take their children to polling centers and know very well that these children are not up to the voting age required by law of 18 and above, and yet they take these people there and give wrong dates in order to get them registered. The very citizens who should insist that we have a credible electoral system
is the same people
who are precisely who are sponsoring these kinds of things. He said the ordinary Ghanaians must themselves determine whether they want a credible register. If the ordinary citizens want a credible register, then they must ensure that when it comes to registration, these things do not happen.
But in every home we have bad nuts, and that's why we have elected the Electoral Commission to take care of this.
So she insists.
What can they do? Because whether we like it or no, we are going to have citizens of this nature. So how can the Electoral Commission ensure that indeed we cannot have a perfect system, but we want to have a system that has minimal mistakes?
Her suggestion, for example, on the case about minors, is that parents of such minors and the minors themselves have to be punished by law. And the legal regime must make provision for such people to be punished.
Who should champion that cause?
Well, I mean, that is why a forum has been opened. Okay. She believes that at this forum, if there is a general conclusion that the legal framework has to be relooked again, and all of us agree, and that anybody who is found to have sponsored the registration of a minor on the register, when that minor is found, both that minor and the parents ought to be punished by law. Okay, she believes that when that happens, it will serve as a deterrent.
Let me get back onto the phone line because Joe Jackson is still there. Mr. Jackson, you clearly stated that we've heard what we've always heard, and of course, you didn't expect anything more than this, that I mean, the Electoral Commission and all the other parties will just say the same things that we've been hearing. And so, going forward, how do we resolve this issue? Because I'm particularly concerned that the EC chair makes reference to the fact that we can never have a perfect system. Yes, we can't, but how do we ensure that our system is one that has very, very minimal mistakes?
Okay, now, for one, the EC has put together a committee of experts. The EC also made it clear in the beginning that they were going to convene technical people to review the some of the issues that NPP had raised. Now, they have to come and tell us when they're going to tell. They have to tell us what timetable for coming out with their findings or whatever they want to do or not to do. Now, that's the next step. Once we have that, then we can be in the position to criticize the EC or to congratulate them for having handled this issue well. At the moment, the ball is fully in the EC's court. They have the ability to detonate a bomb into next year's election or to act in a proactive way to calm down things and to reassure us that we have a chance of a free and fair election come next year.
Well, many thanks to Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson is a political analyst. In the program, we'll also be having David Agbe, is a governance expert, just in a short while to contribute to these issues. Let me come back to the studio, Malik. Malik, how about the MPP's presentation? Do you think they made a very good case to call for a new voters register?
I think the MPP raised critical questions about the register. The MPP clearly pointed out things that should worry every Ghanaian. I think that the Electoral Commission, rather than dismissing their allegations outright, the Commission should look deeply into the issues, and the Commission should do that with an open mind. The Commission should not take a position, and I have a sense that the Electoral Commission chairperson gave an indication that they are adopting a certain position. I think that will worry everybody. They should go into this matter with an open mind, look at all the issues that the NPP raised. That in some constituencies, the increase in voter population is simply outrageous and questionable. That in some border towns, the registration of persons that are believed to be non-citizens is in itself a big problem, and that they can look at these things with an open mind, and they are getting experts to deal with the matters. And I agree with her when she said that these decisions must not be taken on the basis of emotions. But that is the point. It must not also be taken on the basis of the EC itself attempting to protect its own integrity. Because it does not serve the EC, neither does it serve the Ghanaian people, if in the process of doing this, the EC takes a position that it has at all costs, it has to protect its own integrity. If it does that, it will not deal with the matter in the manner that it ought to deal with them. And when that happens, we will have a bigger challenge in our hands
than we have right now. More importantly, also, is the fact that the NPP says that the issues, it's not all the issues they raised that have been addressed. Monitoring the event closely, what do you
Of course, I think the EC chairperson herself said that they will respond to all the issues. What she did was just to touch on some of the issues, even though the party itself is not satisfied with the manner in which she dealt with them, because it was clear to anybody that she's dismissing some of the issues that they raised, and they felt that if you set up an expert panel 5-member expert panel, and you have told everybody that you are bringing IT experts to deal with some of the issues. Now, casting doubt over the allegations at a public forum like that, when the expert panel are yet to consider the issues, when the IT experts you are inviting are yet to look at the issues, then it appears you are putting the cart before the horse.
Exactly.
That is a problem.
I think we should look at a recap of what the EC chair has been saying. That can inform our discussion.
In terms of the integrity of the system, all the registrations in the database must be generated by a biometric voter registration kit. And for each kit to operate, the one in charge of the center must have his own personal biometric details set up in the system, and it's only his fingerprint that can open the kit for the process of registration to start. This is a security mechanism to prevent kit duplication. So there's no registration that is generated directly into the database. It must have a BVR kit origin. And as I said earlier, all the data is encrypted from end to end. And there are multiple checkpoints which we've explained through the review process, through the challenge process, to ensure that the data has integrity. And then, as you'll learn later, there are other advanced algorithms that we use to maintain data integrity. So how does the deduplication system work? It pops, this is the way it pops up. So it will display any duplicates, one next to the other, with the biographic information, because you can have similar names, you can have similar date of birth, but we also need to check whether your fingerprints match, whether your facial image matches. And then
we have other sound bites. Let's listen to Ofusampofu, who also has a very critical position on the forum.
It's been a very good exercise. At least I believe that after this forum, I do not expect people from both sides of the divide to hit the street in their quest to either request that we have a new register or we need to clean the old register. I believe that an opportunity has been given to all the stakeholders, political parties, civil society organizations, governance institutions, and the media as a whole to ask relevant questions, to also ask questions to clear doubts about things that they do not understand. And I believe that the Electoral Commission also have had a very unique opportunity to, as it were, defend themselves and clear some of the misconceptions that people were having about them. At least until last week, people were even accusing the Electoral Commission as compromising their position in this whole process. After this forum, I think it has become very clear that the Electoral Commission has stated their position. They have clarified certain issues. Also, some of the misinformation that has been going on have been cleared. For instance, even this morning, I had a heated argument with the MPP national organizer to the extent that 2 different registers were used for the 2012 elections.
On the phone line is David Agbe. He's a governance expert. Good evening, David. Earlier on, before the forum, you said that it's very important to have this forum so that we can address all the nagging issues. After we've had a 2-day of the forum, would you say it lived up to expectation?
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think that I was so much convinced today, the explanation given by the Electoral Commissioner. I think that this forum, if nothing at all, has been able to reduce the tension that has involved the country for almost about 3 months now. This forum has actually mitigated, has brought, some relative, if I could say, tension in the country. So it has really provided all the citizens with a certain reasonable level of information. And so the forum has done good. And so I would like to say that, yes, the forum was actually useful.
So, judging by the EC's presentation, would you say a case was made for or against a new voters register?
I do not see clearly that the Electoral Commissioner or the Electoral Commission will prepare a new voter register. What they are going to do, looking at the demeanor of the Electoral Commissioner and looking at the presentation that she did, I think that I'm convinced that they are going to do cleaning, or they are going to do auditing as far as the voter register is concerned. So it is clear that we are not going to do a new voter register. But
the NPP is saying that the EC did not respond to all the issues they raised. I mean, from where you sit, how do you see things panning out?
Yes, of course. If you are in a dispute, you want everything to be resolved amicably, said that you will also have your level of satisfaction. So I will agree with the MPP saying that all their issues has not been resolved,
right, because
they sent a petition or a proposal telling the whole country, telling the Electoral Commission that they had almost about 76,000 Togolese in the register, and many exhibited. They explained all those things. But at the end of the day, the Electoral Commissioner also came to justify the fact that with regards to their voter and looking at the biometric data that they have, it will be very difficult for certain non-indigents to be infected into our register. But as we speak now, the onus also lies on the MPP to come and provide the whole country with where they got that information, the 76,000 Togolese. How do they access those information? They should be able to provide all those things to the Electoral Commissioner. And we also, expect the Electoral Commissioner to also do a thorough job by investigating all those issues so that we'll be able to bring some kind of finality to this, matter. So it is incumbent on the MPP to provide the Togolese electoral register, which more or less has been compromised, or
as well as the Electoral Commission to also scrutinize all the issues that have been mentioned. Many thanks to you, David Agbe. That's all time will allow us in the studio here. Malik, one of the interesting things I saw was the Electoral Commission demonstrating how foreigners or a strange person cannot get into their system. You think in a way can help in resolving the issues that have been raised?
Well, it depends on how they do it. If the MPP that brought these issues, and as I said earlier, the EC must do these things transparently and in a manner that satisfied everybody. That look, there was no malice aforethought, there was no any intention planned to cover up the matters, but this was done transparently and honestly and with integrity. I think if that were to happen, the MPP will be satisfied that its concerns have been addressed. It is in the interest of the EC itself to do that, because the EC does not want to go into next year's election with a major stakeholder like the largest opposition party and others believing that the EC is not impartial.
Like it happened 4 years ago.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the EC has a lot of work to do, and it must live above board.
I think it's even a very big responsibility on the EC to clear its name. I mean, looking back at what happened 4 years ago, I think there's a chance for them to actually rise above. Many thanks for your time. We've been talking about the Electoral Commission handling issues raised by the New Patriotic Party regarding a bloated register, alleged bloated register. And we'll be looking at the issues or the aftermath of the two-day forum by the Electoral Commission and the political parties. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Good evening.